everybody. This is Anthony Bianos from Mission Start Podcast, and it's been a while since we had another MSP episode. I think since like the Game of the Year episode me and Greg were on. Tonight we have a very special episode, and one hell of a way to kick off the new year. But first of all, with me tonight is the return, the kind of champion of this podcast, Greg Dietz.
I don't know if I'm a champion, but yeah, thanks for having me again.
And then making her first debut to this podcast is Kristen, aka Rabbit, from our MSP's website. Welcome.
Hi. I'm very nervous.
There's a reason why she's nervous tonight. Because tonight we have a very special guest. He comes from an indie game, that some people might have heard of, League of Legends. I think it's like being worked on by 5 people. So, it's
this tiny game that only like a few hundred have played.
Yes. Tonight with us is Adam Harrington. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey now, Mission Start Podcast listeners, and hello, Anthony, Kristen, and Greg. It's really an honor, and don't worry, Kristen, I'm a little nervous too.
So normally on our MSP podcast we have what everybody's been up to. But since Adam, you're here, that changes a few things normally. So I'll just get straight to it. Adam. First of all, again, thank you for coming on the first podcast. Second, I think I wanted to ask is that there's not really notice with voice actors, especially like since I started listening to this show that Paul, I forgot his last name, but the voice of what's his name? Pinky from Pinky and the Brain, and he has a show that he brings in voice actors and he would talk to them and kind of. They would tell stories, and they'll tell, their experience. And what I've gathered is that a lot of the voice actors I've seen are really friendly to each other and really kind of like a big family. When I saw at the League of Legends panel at AOD that you were in, it really felt that way.
I think what he's getting to, Adam, is he wants to know if there's any like rivalries or beefs in the voice acting world.
Well, you got to remember, we were all actors up there, and in real life, we all hate each other to guts. No, I'm kidding. No, you're referencing Rob Paulson's show, and yeah, Rob, very, very active with the fans and with the other voice actors, and for many years, and still to this date, voice actors have kind of taken a back seat to things, but I think it's you guys. It's the fans and the gamers, and God bless you, who are expressing interest in finding out more about who these voices are that they're hearing in their favorite games, and their favorite characters. And I think Rob, he had a great idea and ran with it. And then my friend Eric Bra, who you saw up on the stage with us there. I'm probably referencing something a lot of your listeners don't know what I'm talking about. Anthony and were Greg and Kristen at AOD as well?
Unfortunately, not this year, but last year I was.
Well, we had a panel, a League of Legends panel, and a Walking Dead panel, and actually a panel that me, Eric, and Owen Thomas, voice of Twisted Fate and Victor in League of Legends, and Omid in The Walking Dead. We have our own little voice acting show on YouTube called In the Booth with Adam and Eric, where, after getting, years and years of pretty much the same question from fans, how do you get started in voice acting? How do I get started in voice acting? Just the same one that we were answering over and over again individually. We figured, why not put together a little show where we do a Q&A from the previous episode's comment section, and the most upvoted and some of the ones that we choose ourselves, questions and comments, we address in the following episode. And we started last year. We really are we're doing it ourselves. I mean, I essentially am producer, director, editor, and craft services for this show. Mm-hmm. So we're learning as we go, but the show gets a little better each time. And
I just imagine you showing up. Sorry, I just imagine you showing up to Telltale Games to do whatever voice they want you to do, and someone's like, "Hey, did Adam bring the sandwiches before he did his voice acting?"
Actually, oddly enough, we don't work at Riot. We do all of our League of Legends recording here in a studio, here being the Bay Area, in a studio called Somatone in Emeryville. But we do get patched in with the writers, and they give us, the down low on what they need from us. But it's Rob Paulson's show is definitely amazing. He's down there in LA with some of the quote unquote bigger names in the industry, but I like to think that we're sort of building a pretty big following and recognition for our group up here. And a lot of the credit for that goes to Telltale Games and The Walking Dead, and now, of course, The Wolf Among Us.
Agreed.
Sorry.
What's funny is that prior to getting this podcast set up, I was actually playing some of the Wolf Among Us, and first thing, holy crap, the game is really good. Second, now that you're here, can you tell us a little bit about that, as far as like what was the process for voicing Bigby in the Wolf Among Us?
Actually, oddly enough, I'll give you a little, but I'll get in trouble with my guy at Telltale, specifically about Wolf Among Us, just because we're in the middle of production. I probably should have warned you about that. But he's understandably, asked me to try to keep it, on the down low, or at least not divulge too much about, of course, about the plot, but also about the making of the game and things like that. Suffice to say, they once The Walking Dead came out, and then pretty much took the world by storm, won I think it's over 100 Game of the Year awards, including most of the big ones like the Spike VGAs, the BAFTAs even in England. My friends Dave Fennoy, who's the voice of Lee in The Walking Dead, and Melissa Hutchison, who is Clementine, who is now the playable character in Walking Dead season 2.
Phenomenal voice actors, by the way.
Yeah, and we're all buddies. I mean, Dave's amazing. Eric and I actually went down and interviewed him for our show in his studio, and the guy, Walking Dead is just one little notch in his belt. I mean, if you go and check out his credits, I mean, and it's not just video games. He's the voice of Hulu. If you go on Hulu and you hear the following program was brought to you by Pringles, that's Dave.
Oh my gosh.
But he's he's in StarCraft, he's in Fallout New Vegas, he's in a bunch of the Transformer games. He's the list goes on and on and on. But normally with a star of that caliber, you almost expect a level of detachment and celebrity sort of attitude that just is non-existent with Dave. He's been a mentor to me and Eric, and a friend, and just an amazing guy to have in our corner.
It's funny you say that, Adam, because I've had the opportunity of speaking with quite a few voice actors over the few years that I've been doing stuff on the internet, and something that I've noticed that's the difference between a screen actor and a voice actor, and this isn't an absolute, so it's not like I'm not saying all screen actors like this, but I always find that voice actors are a lot more humble. Like, they feel what they do isn't like that great, but fans know that it's that great, and they just accept that.
Oh, we're working on that. I mean, like I said, yeah, we're working on getting to pompous assholes. Sorry about that. Pompous, you know what?
Oh, Adam, I cuss on this podcast like a sailor, so don't worry about it.
No, it's cool. Like, you can cuss on this podcast. I don't care. Go for it.
No, but in all seriousness, yeah, we and again, nothing's an absolute, like you said, and some of the coolest people I've ever met are big celebrities. But yeah, I mean, you don't see our face, so we can walk down the street and, we can go to the store and buy stuff, and we don't get that constant recognition and sort of ego stroking that a lot of the
but see, I know your face because I'm a stalker.
Hey, I need more stalkers, man. You haven't made it until you got a few.
I do have a quick question about Walking Dead and Wolf Among Us that is not about the plot, so I think you're safe.
Yep.
But going into doing, especially with Bigby, going into doing the voices of the characters you do, and in this, it's mainly, again, about Bigby. Did you have to read any of the comics?
You know what's funny is going back to Walking Dead, if there is material to research, I will do it. I take every gig I get seriously, and if there's any chance to really study up and learn about this character, learn what makes them tick, I will do it. But, I don't go overboard. But the deal with the material we're working with here is that it's amazing material. So I go to my library because I'm cheap and get the first compendium of Walking Dead with the intention of just skimming it and getting a feel for it. Next thing I know, a week later, I've read the entire first compendium and looking everywhere for the second, which I found out eventually hadn't been released yet. It just was mid last year, I think. Same story with Wolf Among Us. I checked out Fables just to sort of, get a feel. And here I am now 80 issues in and completely sucked in.
Nice. I totally respect that.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking that is because there's been a lot of, people that I know, like, that I've talked to, that don't go into the history of what voices they're doing. They just go, okay, this character's like this, and they go with it. And they do a great job. But I always like it when the actor takes that extra step to learn a little bit more about the character, because when I played episode 1 last year of A Wolf Among Us, I immediately was like, I got to know who this voice actor is, because he is embodying Bigby down to the last fiber of his hair. It's amazing.
And I appreciate that. And I will tell you, I've been doing this 15 years. I don't get nervous about much, but I recognize the love that, fans of this graphic novel, comic, whatever you want to call it, I know how invested they are. So, my characters in Walking Dead, there wasn't a whole lot of pressure, certainly not a lot of expectation, because these characters didn't exist until Telltale wrote them.
Right.
Bigby, that's a different story. This guy folks have been reading this comic and they have cultivated a voice inside their heads, what he sounds like for over a decade. So yeah, that scared the you-know-what out of me.
I don't doubt it. That would, I think the fact that you were nervous doing it shows even more passion that you have behind doing
well,
the role.
I wasn't so much nervous doing it as I was, that really just nerve-shattering couple days before the release of what the reaction would be. Because people you can't help it when you read comics or a novel or anything is to sort of imagine in your head, either consciously or even subconsciously, what this character sounds like as you read. And oddly enough, knowing my luck, I tend to be a little more involved online, especially with the fans, than your average voice actor. I interact with the fans a lot. I listen to what they have to say. I am, for better or worse, affected by their opinions. And of course, the very first site, I think it was Kotaku, I'm not sure. The very first site I went to, Adam Harrington's Bigby is awful. He sounds nothing like what Bigby sounds like. He's not scary enough. He's not growly enough. He's not mean. And I was like, oh my God. And I thought, okay, this is going to be a disaster. But thank God the fans, the Telltale fans, who are notoriously picky and notoriously outspoken when they don't like something, for just an overwhelming majority embraced what not only I did with my character, but with everybody, Aaron with Snow White, and, of course, some of the other guys, Chuck as Toad and Buffkin, Gavin Hammond as Magic Mirror, Dee and Dumb, and Beast. You guys might know Gavin better as the voice of Kenny in The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And also,
okay.
Yeah, Varys and Pantheon, and and Bloodlord Vlad in League of Legends. I could go on, and the voice of Furby. Gavin is a rock star, guys. That's a guy who's trying to get on the show. But yeah, after reading that first, awful review, the guy pretty much panned me. I thankfully sort of knuckled down and went and did some more research and found out that he was the exception that proved the rule. And guys like, Greg Miller at Up at Noon have really embraced the character and the game as a whole. And I couldn't be happier. I mean, we really do this for you guys. And if you're not happy with our work, then that affects us, maybe a lot more than anybody will admit. In fact, case in point, I don't know if any of you have played Tales of Monkey Island.
I played a little bit, yeah.
Well, this was the first gig I ever got with Telltale, and I had never played the original games. I think it was Sierra or was it LucasArts or maybe both, but I just booked it, and it was a pirate character. And it turns out, I found out later, that the original voice of LeChuck, Earl Bowen, had retired and was in Hawaii. But the guys at Telltale decided to not really play me reference files and not really have me just do an impression of Earl's LeChuck, but sort of do my own thing. And as far as the voice, it was fine, but they directed me, and I worked it out with them with this laugh that was, admittedly now in hindsight pretty hokey. It was har, har, har. And the Telltale fans just ripped me a new one. And I lasted one episode. Earl came out of retirement, came back and did LeChuck, and everybody was happy. It was the one and only really, I won't call it a failure, but the one role I've taken on that just wasn't a success. Thankfully, I had one other character in the game, Moose, but yeah, that LeChuck thing was a learning experience and maybe part of the catalyst of what made me do more research for future things.
I have a quick question for you about that experience. So if there was a situation for another person who's trying to get into voice acting or trying to just get into anything that's entertainment-wise, and all of a sudden they, like, in one of their, I don't know how long you'd been doing voice acting up to doing LeChuck, but let's say that was just your first experience in general, and that negative reaction you had got from that, what would you say to people who have had a similar experience and decided to quit doing their dream because of that negative attitude? Like, what would be your advice to them?
Well, I mean, that's all part of the game is the folks who end up making it in voiceover are the ones who build a thick skin, and also, you have to let rejection go. It's part of the business, and it's not just, I mean, if you've gotten to the point where you're actually booking gigs and then getting bad reviews, then that's actually in a weird way, a good problem to have. The real rejection, I mean, to even go, farther back, is you have to get, used to the fact that you're going to audition for hundreds of roles every year, and you're going to be lucky to book 10% of them. So you have to learn that, you are not going to be the guy or the girl, depending on for almost the entirety of the roles you try out for. It's odd. A lot of the developers, they may give you some jumping off points, like, take League of Legends, for example. Shaco, my favorite of my 5 champs, they gave us, of course, some concept art, but they also gave us some references. And of course, one of them was Mark Hamill's Joker.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
But they were very specific that we're not looking for, a straight interpretation. We're not looking for an impression of Hamill's Joker. Just, we want a taste of him. And then, it's up to us as actors to find the elements and find something that's just right, give it to them, and then hope that they pick you. But bottom line is, most of the time, particularly in video games or animation, the casters and the directors and the producers, they don't know what these characters sound like until they hear us utter a few words, and they hear it and they have that eureka moment. That's our Bigby. Okay, that's him. And they don't know because it's sort of an abstract idea until they actually hear the 50 or so actors that try out for the role.
Wow, and it's really good stuff. I'm again, I'm surprised in how well like you guys as voice actors do your job so well to make it so believable, and I definitely get that with The Wolf Among Us. But there was something that I've been curious about. Since you guys just started your new show with you and Eric, just out of curiosity, like, was there any like funny stories between you two guys that happened on the off chance that you or I could mention, or just anything to that nature?
Like meeting Anthony would be funny.
Well, I'm not sure about funny. Well, I'm sure I'll think of a million of them right after we hang up. But I mean, amazing would be more like it. Our first taste, and again, I'm sort of the ringmaster of a lot of this. That panel, all the panels you saw up there were actually put together by me in less than 7 days. I had forgotten that AOD was coming up. And they'd already had my friend Melissa slated, obviously, because, she's Clementine in the brand new season of Walking Dead. And but I had forgotten, and I had forgotten how much fun I and all my friends had at the League panel the year before. But also there were some new faces that you saw on that panel that I'm really trying to get as many of us together and out there to meet the fans as possible. And it's the first taste of that kind of environment that we got was at IPLSF summer before last at the Masonic Center in San Francisco, where we were actually signing autographs and got up on stage in front of thousands of fans. But more importantly, we didn't find out until seconds before we went on stage that it wasn't just the thousands in the audience, it was 300,000 watching the stream.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
Suddenly it got a whole lot more real for us, because we are used to having a certain level of a huge level of anonymity, and the fact that it's just our voice, and you don't see
that kind of attention would have given me the fear farts.
But I was taught from when I was studying voice acting in the just started in the late 90s that a little bit of fear, a little bit of nervousness is going to help you. If you're not nervous at all, if you're just completely mellow, 9 times out of 10, your performance is going to be lackluster. The flip side of that is if you've got too much, butterflies, and you're too freaked out, that's going to show up, and you're going to look like a quivering mess.
Right.
But I mean, funny, I'm not sure. I'm sure there were a million funny instances, interacting with fans, but I think more appropriate is just amazing and appreciative of how much love we felt from those fans, and it really sort of validates all this hard work and all this auditioning and all this self-promotion and all the hard work that goes into those few gigs that are the payoff. I mean, Eric puts it well when people ask, one part of voice acting that people don't understand is easily 80% of the actual work, the nuts and bolts work we do, is not paid work. It's auditioning and it's promotion. Once you actually get the gig, that's the fun part. That's when you get to go in and play.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That and it is a test to not giving up on whatever dream or anything to that goal that you have in life. You definitely have to keep at it until you reach that goal. I definitely know that from firsthand experience. At least right now, trying to get into the video game industry, and the way I'm
sorry. You cut off. I didn't hear all of that.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now I'm saying I definitely get that, not the giving up mentality, I know that firsthand experience, like right now as I'm trying to get my way into the video game industry, and how I am in school right now pursuing that, and I definitely get that. I really do. So it's really cool to hear you say that. Kristen.
Yeah, it's really the folks, and you can equate it to not just voice acting or acting. It's also, like you said, developing. It's anything that you've got a passion for. The folks that are going to persevere are the ones who can deal with rejection, who can take criticism not as an insult, but as help. Even the people that intend it to insult you, you know, it's all just building up a tough skin, learning what your strengths are. And, you know, Owen, again, another member of our show, Owen Thomas, he puts it best is that, you know, he's got tons of friends who say, hey, I think what you're doing is kind of fun. I think I'll do that. I think I'll just book a couple of gigs a week and that'll be fun. And then he has to explain to them, it ain't that easy.
Yeah, I don't want to put myself in the same pantheon as you, but when I started writing for the other website that I was on and now Mission Start, when I started doing it, there was a lot of moments where I almost wanted to give up because I didn't feel like what I was doing was going anywhere.
You're talking about writing. Yes,
because I write the reviews and some of the articles on Mission Start.
Oh, I have the utmost respect for anybody who attempts to be a writer. I'm in awe of what you guys do, and just writing an email for me is a challenge. So trust me, yeah.
Well, what you guys do blows my mind because I don't feel that I'm that quick-witted in that sense. But when I have hands on a keyboard and I'm just typing, I feel invincible. But that's the thing is when I started writing for Mission Start, and this was a weird moment in my life where I stopped caring what negative people were saying.
That's the key.
Yeah,
let me correct myself. You don't ignore them. What you do is you mine the criticism for stuff that will actually help you, and you sort of separate just the haters and you know, the people with completely unconstructive criticism, and if you can deal with that and you can find the criticism that you feel will help you, and you say to yourself, you know, hey, maybe they're right, maybe I can work on this, then absolutely.
Yeah, and I that's something that I think is really important. Like two different instances where I had written an article for, it was I think 6 fan theories in video games that actually work, and they're silly. I even wrote them as it's a comedy thing, like it's not serious at all. And I felt it came across that way. And the first review that I had got from it, the guy just like broke down everything I had said and basically was telling me how I was wrong in all of these scenarios and all of these situations. And I'm like, dude, nothing you said was constructive. And then I got another review from it that was like, dude, that was hilarious. I like how you ended it on the Mega Man, or Mega Man is Robo Jesus, and you basically you ended that with praising Robo Jesus, and he goes, but if there was one thing that I would change is you know, don't segment your article in that fashion because it's kind of hard to read. Cool, thanks for the constructive criticism. I will take that and use that in the future.
Exactly, so, and you know, and the first guy you mentioned, 9 times out of 10, when you get that kind of thing, you have to remind yourself, this is probably a failed writer or a writer who is struggling themselves. And no, seriously, they're projecting their own inadequacies and their own self-doubt on you.
Yep.
Yeah. Sure. I've never.
Boy, we're getting deep. We're getting deep here on Mission Start Podcast.
Oh yeah, this is some deep stuff.
I don't know. I love talking to other creative people, and it's always interesting to hear, like, even though we come from 2 different areas of creativity, we have the same like ideals, if you will, to an extent. I don't want, again, I'm not up there with you, if you will, in my opinion, but
honestly, there's no up there or down there. I mean, some of the most amazingly talented people I've ever met in my life will never be known by more than a couple of hundred people. And sometimes that's their choice, especially musicians. I mean, there are people who are mega stars right now without, I mean, sorry to sound crass, but without an ounce of freaking talent. Meanwhile, I've known some musicians that have almost brought me to tears with what they can do, and they have zero aspirations of you know, making music for anyone other than themselves. And bottom line, when you break it down, if you're not doing it for yourself first and foremost, if you're not doing things that you know are both entertaining, insightful, and have something to offer the human race, then you're in the wrong business. You are your best critic, you are your best fan, and you are the best wall to bounce your stuff off of when all is said and done.
The slow
I
claps.
completely agree.
The slow claps begin, and it just gets louder. Kristen.
Yeah, you gotta do what makes you happy, pretty much. Because if you don't like it, then
Yeah, I mean, even if you're doing it, for 3 people, if you love what you're doing and you're happy with what you've done, mission accomplished.
Oh, a review on anything that I've written will send me through the rest of the day in a good mood. And that's just simply like, oh, someone read it and was entertained by it. That's like one person. That makes me feel great. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I agree. Kristen, you had a question that you have lined up for Mr. Harrington here.
Mr. Harrington's my dad. I'm Adam, guys.
Okay.
Well, I had a few questions that I've asked around with my friends who are also League of Legends fans that follow you guys.
Uh-huh.
And so one of the first weird questions is, how does Eric keep his majestic beard so awesome?
Here, I'm going to give you guys an exclusive. It's not real. He glues it up. No. I'm very envious of his beard. I don't know. One of our episodes, Eric had to shave the entire beard off for an on-camera role. Eric actually does quite a bit of on-camera stuff. And so we announced it on our show, one of our earlier episodes, and we decided to have some fun with it and let the fans decide what we do with it before he had to chop it all off. And overwhelmingly, the most upvoted suggestions were to cut it down into a Draven mustache. So we did it, and we aired it on, I think it's episode 4, I'm not sure. But we did sort of a time lapse where I helped him and he shaved it down from that huge, as you said, majestic beard into, and he's a true redhead. So we had to actually dye the mustache black and it's,
wow.
Yeah. If you got a moment, go check it out. That's not just a plug for the show. That's if you want to be entertained. I believe it's episode 4, probably just a word search. Draven, Eric Bra mustache or something like that will bring you to it. But
wow,
it's definitely one of the co-stars of the show, Eric's beard, and it grew back so fast it's almost inhuman.
Wow, that's one of a genius of a beard. Was there anything else that you had in mind, Kristen? Since you haven't talked much in the show, I don't want to just have me, Adam, and Greg talking the entire time.
No, that's fine. I'm pretty shy right now.
Well,
I do have another question for you. So do you follow all the inside jokes with League of Legends that go by your characters, like Mordekaiser and Shaco and whatnot?
Hue. Mordekaiser es número uno. Yeah. We are fully ensconced. I mean, and again, Eric is actually playing now, but I joke, but it's not so much a joke. It's a truth. Is I am absolutely sure that I am the most knowledgeable person of the League of Legends universe of anyone who's never actually played the game. I know so much about this game that other than the tutorials that I failed horribly at, I know a lot about the game. Yeah, and a lot of the
That's
the
impressive because that's impressive because the tutorials are designed to have you win.
Yeah.
No, and that's the thing. The one I finished, I lost.
Wow.
And I've been told that, of my 5 champs, I guess maybe Karthus is the most, or maybe it's Ryze who is the most noob friendly, but no, I had no luck with anybody. I just sucked.
It's okay. I've been there many
There was there's a MOBAs are pretty much all the same, and there's one that came out on the Xbox called Guardians of Middle Earth, which is basically a League of Legends clone. And
there are a lot of clones coming out, but if I understand correctly, League of Legends is kind of a clone of earlier stuff, right?
Yeah, Dota.
Yeah, well,
Yes, Dota.
Heroes of New Earth.
No, even now, if you want to go back to the origins of all of this, you go to like Warcraft 3 and Defense of the Ancients back in the day, and it was a mod for Warcraft 3. So.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and I think it's true in at least some respects that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which, I got a little plug for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I befriended a gentleman named Brad Ramey, better known as Pluto, who was sort of the shoutcaster / in-house mascot of the Curse team.
Oh my gosh.
And Pluto's a good buddy of mine, and this is an exclusive for you guys. I can't tell you much about it other than the fact that I was in studio working with Pluto and Caleb on some work for Dawngate.
Oh wow!
I don't know how much you guys know about Dawngate, but we're getting some good reviews, and I'm really excited about this.
Nice. Wow.
If you get a chance, look it up. Dawngate. They even have a YouTube channel where they do some playthroughs and some instructions and tell you more about the game. But it's in beta right now, I believe. But keep your eyes out because I trust my buddy Stefanos Rex inherently, and he's one of the first real League of Legends fans that I befriended, and now he's on our show. He's also a voice actor. I found him through his impressions of League champ voice actors, and he's amazing at that. But we're working on getting him. He's already we've got him in Star Trek Online. We got him in Neverwinter, and he's an up and comer. But I asked him first off, before I even went in and started working with these guys. Okay, what have you heard about this Dawngate? And I trust Rex, 100%. And he said, hey, that game is going to be great. He says, a few things they need to work out, but, of the quote unquote League of Legends clones, this thing looks like the real deal.
Wow.
Nice.
That's awesome. Thank you, Adam, for that exclusive.
Yeah.
This podcast upload has transferred from Friday to Monday now. But wow, that's really awesome. Speaking of which, is there any other future projects that I know you can't say much, but is there anything you could probably hint at, or is there anything any particular future game or show or whatever you would like to work on if you had the choice?
If I'd like to, or that I have. I mean, I've done a couple things already this year that are going to be huge, but I can't tell you a damn thing. Sorry, man.
I do. So,
I mean,
you said that you...
but dream projects. I mean, I'd have to say the games I actually play. I mean, I've always been a huge Tomb Raider fan. Always been a big Resident Evil fan until they started slipping a little bit. I wasn't too happy with the last few installments.
Yeah, six was a big disappointment.
Yeah.
yeah, it really was. And I'm not blaming the voice acting on that. It's just the mechanics, and it didn't catch me the way the earlier ones. I mean, the very first Resident Evil, the one that's just all in that one mention, but seemed so huge and new and awesome to me, is what really, really brought me back to video games. I mean, I still say to this day, the very best Christmas gift I ever got was my Atari 5200 under the tree in the 80s. I'm dating myself now. Pole position and all that good stuff. But the PlayStation 1, when that came out, that, and of course, maybe Sega and the NES, but really it was the PS1 where the 3D really started coming into play. The funny thing about Resident Evil is I didn't know until I'd finished the whole game that I had the darkness level set way too low, so I wouldn't see a zombie until it was literally 2 feet in front of me, which enhanced the fear factor by 1,000,000. But yeah, if I had dream projects, it would be in games I play. Drake's, Tomb Raider, Resident Evil if they get it right. a number of them. Just I'm more of a third-person shooter guy.
Wow.
Oh.
So.
And Grand Theft Auto, of course. I think that Og did an amazing job in that one.
I was gonna ask you what, like, if you could say anything as Trevor right now, which, like, or an impression, if you will.
God,
like, what line?
He didn't have much of an accent, right?
No.
God, I played the game. I mean, I got really far in the game. I think he was. Well, I've seen interviews with the guy. He's just being himself. He is a trip. That dude is really a trip.
Yeah.
And it does not hurt to be an eccentric kind of guy in this business. What a lot of people don't know is when we're in the booth, we're using our whole body. And if you're not, then you're not doing it right. If you're not smacking the mic stand or the copy stand once in a while and having to do a retake, or, if you're not coming out of that session just completely spent, like you had just fought the war if you actually had fought this war you were voicing, then you're not doing it right. And I can tell you right now, just from hearing his lines, that guy was in. He was all in. And that's what you're going to get your best performances from.
Speaking of...
I've...
Go ahead, sorry, Greg.
That's good. When I've talked about the voice acting in that game, he's easily my favorite, just because of it clearly shows with his acting that he was there 110% and might have even left the studio thinking he was Trevor.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a whole lot of Og in Trevor. Oddly enough, he's my second favorite. My favorite was the friend. I can't remember the guy's name. The black kid character. What was his name?
Oh, Franklin.
Franklin, his friend. I can't remember his friend's name.
Lamar.
Lamar, that guy is my freaking hero. That guy he had me cracking up. I mean, just the line, big dog, big nuts. I mean, the guy had me rolling, and he was new. He's not a professional voice actor. He's a comedian, but he went in there and he just knocked it out of the park. There's a big future in voiceover for that guy if he chooses it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'd say the thing though, like, as I'm playing the game, Lamar was pissing me off. Yeah. Because it's like, Lamar, you are getting me into trouble.
That's the thing. He's supposed to piss you off, and he did his job.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, as a voice actor who's worked on hundreds of games, Og's performance was awesome. Did he win Voice Actor of the Year I don't know who won last year.
No, last year... Well, it depends on which award thing you're talking about. Spikes.
The VGA.
I think it went to Troy Baker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For Booker, I think.
Yeah, for Best Male Voice Actor. Yeah.
No, it did go to him, but it was for Joel for Last of Us. My bad.
Oh, right. That's right. Yeah.
I still haven't played Last of Us. I just haven't had the time, but I really want to. I love their games, first of all, and second of all, I've heard nothing but amazing things about the voice acting and about the game itself.
Yeah, it was really weird because back in 2010 or 2011, I got to interview Troy Baker and Allie Hillis.
Which I'm still very jealous of, you son of a bitch.
I'm mad because the audio file's gone, so there's that.
Nothing ever disappears on the internet. It's out there somewhere.
I don't know where it is, but anyway. When I talked to him about, like, doing certain roles, he hadn't really blown up at the time, because nobody that I spoke to about, like, I was like, hey, I interviewed these two people, they didn't know who I was talking about. And It wasn't until this year that I was just blown away by his performances and everything that he was in.
Kind of like how people won't know who you're talking about when you say Adam Harrington right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to preface that with Bigby Wolf.
Yeah, well, hopefully by the end of the year, maybe a few folks will know my name a little better. But yeah, Troy's one of the big boys. He's down in L.A. and the rule has been, in entertainment period, that if you want to make it, it's either in L.A. or New York, possibly Chicago. But we're trying to change that. And, I mean, obviously the really, really heavy hitters are down there still. But I like to think we're making some serious waves up here, man.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, so I have a question for you as far as League of Legends goes. Um,
Yep.
there are so many champions that are released every other month or weekly almost at this point. Out of all the champions that you've seen, played, or whatnot, any particular favorites?
You mean other than my 5?
Yes.
Well, I mean, again, this is going to sound kind of self-serving just because he's my boy and I love him, but Draven is amazing.
Always.
I actually, I just recently on my YouTube channel, I found a ton of my old audition files for a bunch of these characters. And I started the video with the disclaimer that the right people were booked for these roles. I get picked for the ones I got because that's the way it's supposed to be. But Zach, I kind of did a New York thing for him. Why, thanks. I do work out. And I got a lot of reaction from that. But favorite characters, yeah, it's got to be Draven's got to be up there. I love my girl Christina Ulloa's characters, Annie, Nunu, and Amumu, just because she is amazing. Owen's Twisted Fate. I really wanted that role because I loved that character, but Owen knocked it out of the park. There's so, like you said, there's so many to choose from. It's kind of hard to just pick, one or two favorites.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, my particular favorite, and I know I'm gonna get crap from Kristen because I did this.
Don't tell me Teemo because nobody likes Teemo.
No, it wasn't that. Vi was actually my favorite. I was surprised that the voice actor was there at AOD. She is definitely my favorite, and yes, I did spend real money dollars to buy her because I was too lazy to work and grind my way up to earning her. But she's a really cool character, and I definitely like her.
I don't mean to call out Anthony, but I'm laughing over here at what you just did. Adam goes, yeah, it's really, you can't really pick a favorite. It's really difficult. And Anthony goes, well, my favorite is.
Hey, everybody's different, and Chia is amazing. You guys played The Wolf Among Us first episode by now, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
She is Faith. She was Faith. Oh, spoiler alert.
Whoa.
Sorry.
Well, she is Faith. She's the voice of Faith, and I think she killed it.
Oh, well,
absolutely.
More ways than one.
Exactly. And not to toot my own horn too much, but unless you've already read the credits and all, do you guys know my other character in Wolf Among Us?
I do.
Yeah, go for it, Greg. I'm on a blank right now.
I want to say the lumberjack, but no, the woodsman.
The
That's his name.
woodsman.
Yep, the woodsman. Right, and funny enough, I booked the woodsman before I booked Bigby, so I had recorded all that before I even knew I was Bigby.
Now, I do have a question, and this is a little bit of a spoiler, but not really because it's the first thing that happens in the first episode. But that fight between Bigby and the woodsman, did you record those two separately or at the same time? I imagine separately.
Yeah, no, nothing. Even stuff done by the same voice actor. It's almost exclusive. Maybe once in a while, a gamer, a developer will have a cast of actors in the booth at the same time, but usually because of the logistics of lines and when they're played and the order they're played and the order of events in the game, ensemble acting in the booth together is a thing of the past, especially with gaming. So yeah, almost every character you hear in every game is done separately. I think I saw that with the Batman stuff. Hamill and the other guy that did Batman, some of that stuff they did together, which shocked me actually. But for the most part, unfortunately, it's just us, and we sometimes get to play off of the other characters' lines in our headphones, but most of the time we don't even get that luxury. It's just us.
Which did you record first, Woodsman or Bigby?
Woodsman, definitely.
Okay, Woodsman. So when you're playing Bigsby and you're playing off yourself, is that weird or?
That's Bigby to you, Mundy. Who's this Bigsby?
I don't know why I keep saying it incorrectly, and I feel like a jackass for it.
I'm sorry. What was the question?
When you're doing Bigby and you're interacting with the woodsman, is it kind of weird to play off your own voice, or?
No, actually, I mean, as with most of the things, you get used to it after a while. It's funny when I play these games. You know, I just played episode 2 a few days ago, and this has been the case with every game I'm in that I play. Pretty quickly, you sort of get lost in the game and forget that you're even listening to yourself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's an odd sort of phenomenon. But I will say that fight scene, without a doubt, was the most surreal sort of Freudian experience of my gaming career, where I'm essentially just beating the bloody hell out of myself, you know.
It's funny too, because I at the end of episode 1, again, spoiler for anyone who hasn't played, whatever. I actually went after Tweedledee and not Woodsman, so Woodsman's almost non-existent in the second episode for me.
Yeah, and I did the same, by the way. It's kind of cool how Telltale does it with the the quick time decisions you have to make. It draws you into the story because you're like, oh my God, wait a minute, and I guess you could cheat and press pause. Maybe you can't.
No, when you press pause, you can't see any of the options.
Yeah, but you still know what's up. But still, I mean, if you play the game correctly, you don't hit pause, and that's a huge part of the success of these, I think, is that draws you in big time. It is the immediacy of the choices you have to make.
Absolutely.
Yeah, some of those really major decisions in Walking Dead season 1, they affect people. I mean, there were so many walkthroughs. I think even PewDiePie cried, but Cinnamon Toast Ken, I mean, guys that you're used to seeing being really funny and sort of flippant about the games. That last scene I'm not going to give anything away, but that last scene with Dave and with Clementine and Lee, was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in a game in my life.
I feel like a big old, what's it called? I guess jackass would be the right word, but I have actually not finished season 1 of The Walking Dead. I have every episode on my Xbox, and I have not played them yet.
Well, I will tell you now, if you're looking for a really deep experience that will affect you to your core, go play it.
Mm-hmm, especially with season 2.
I'm definitely planning on it. I just haven't done it yet, and I feel like again, I feel bad because they're so good. I mean, I bought them, so I really can't feel too bad, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I did already give them my money, but
you did your part. There's actually video out. They filmed Dave recording that final scene, and Dave is shedding, no lie, actual tears as he reads it, and
Wow.
it's pretty deep, man.
Wow. Going back to The Wolf Among Us, like, it was funny, when I was playing it today, for the first time, like, I was, I had my food ready, I was about to eat dinner, have my drink. I was just watching because I thought it was an entire cutscene, not drinking, and then suddenly the first, part of the action that happened, I was like, oh crap, gotta hit Q.
Yep.
Crap. for a second there, I almost choked on my water. But
Yeah. I mean, it sort of lulls you to sleep where you think, okay, I can put the controller down, and then all of a sudden you got to snatch it up quick. You're like, oh no.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's part of what makes it feel more like real life than your average game is you can sort of be plugging along and, talking to another character, and all of a sudden a zombie pops out of nowhere and you freak out because, like, one, for instance, again, spoiler alert, is, and I won't say the characters' names, but in season 1, just out of nowhere, you have to decide which of these 2 characters that you've gotten to know so well lives and which one dies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, having those kind of choices throughout any of Telltale games is absolutely one of the, in my opinion, greatest things that they do. Other games have done it in the past where you have to make a decision and it affects the remainder of the game. But when the narrative is the strongest part of a game, that becomes more heavy when you have to make that choice.
Especially like under such time constraints, like, and say, like, in Mass Effect, you have time to think it over, and make a decision. But in the case of The Walking Dead and The Wolf Among Us, like you're given that short amount of time to really just decide who lives, who dies. Do you lie? Do you tell the truth in that situation? So it
I'd
is
also
really
like
cool.
to. Sorry, I was gonna say I'd also like to point out that I totally just said more heavy, which is not proper.
Yeah.
There are no grammar Nazis among us, right?
Nah.
Nope.
Not really.
I am to myself. I don't know if that's like.
Well, yeah, you are a writer, so get with the program.
Yeah, but with a computer, I can correct that. I can go back and be like, all right, I'm not stupid when I write when like it goes up. Sweet.
F7 all day.
Yeah, the beauty of autocorrect.
Agreed.
It's more better, guys. It's more better. We're good.
Mo better.
Mo better. Adam, as far as any other games you've been playing, I mean, you said you play the games that you voice in, but is there any particular other games you're also playing that you're not voicing in, or you're really excited for?
Because Adam, you only play games you voice in. Right?
Well, that would limit me. No, again, I am still, months later, it's just so huge, and I've been a fan since the first one is GTA. It's and I don't even do the online stuff. I just play the story mode, but I'm OCD, so it takes me 5 times longer to get through a story mode than most people because I have to check every corner of every room in every building for, something I might have missed. So it'll take me years to finish that.
Yeah, because that game is massive. I was gonna say, I bought that game and I said I know that the campaign's going to be amazing, and I was really looking forward to the online, and I cannot express how disappointed I was with that online.
Yeah, you were.
Well, that's the thing. I've seen bad reviews and everything, but it doesn't affect me because I don't do it. I'm a weird sort of introverted gamer. I've never been, making unless it was football. If I was playing Madden or something or golf with my brother or somebody, then I'd let one other person in. But for the most part, a video game, I like to just turn the lights off. It's just me, sit on my couch, and just get lost in that world,
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I understand that.
But again, any particular games in the future that you're looking forward to that will come out soon?
Oh, there's so many. But see, again, the problem is, as I said to you guys earlier, a big part of my business is constant promotion, constant internet presence. I am working really hard on my show In the Booth with Adam and Eric. Every spare moment I have, I am working on this show or other content from my YouTube channel. I'm still amazed by some of my friends like Lily Pichu or P-Bat or there are tons of others who have amassed hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Dan Bull, my rapper friend.
Oh, Dan Bull's amazing, by the way.
He's a good buddy of mine, and actually I did a Wolf Among Us rap with Dan.
Nice.
Yeah, it's up on his channel, and I was a little intimidated. I by no means am a musician or a rapper, but he held my hand through it, and I'm really happy with the final product.
I did not know you were in that.
Yep. I pretty much I voice myself, but my voice is an awful lot like a certain wolf. But yeah, I'm still trying to figure out the ins and outs of how they create, these large amounts of subscribers and followers, and I'm still trying to figure it out, and I'm working really hard on it. But when I do get to game, I'm honest. I'm honestly here. I don't see myself playing anything other than GTA on any spare time I get for quite some time.
And I'm pretty sure 2K Games left you every time for buying each copy. Well, thank you, Adam, for joining us for this podcast.
It's my pleasure, and thank you guys for coming out to AOD and having me on the show. Please watch In the Booth with Adam and Eric at my channel. It's youtube.com/HarringtonVO. HarringtonVO as in voiceover.
Awesome. Greg, where can they find you on the internet?
No one cares about that, Anthony.
I care, Greg.
You can find me on Twitter at ChubrockGeek. I also have a YouTube channel that I almost never upload on, called it's just Chubrock.
That's a ringing endorsement.
I was doing a small blog that was called A Geek Losing It, where I was try to lose weight and talk about geeky things, and then I just stopped exercising, and it just went away.
Join the club, buddy. Hey, while I still have you guys, I sent you a little link on Skype, just in case, and I'll bet you'll get them. Our most frequent question, as I said, there's more and more interest in voice acting, and it's true. It's becoming easier and easier to pursue a career in voice acting with the advent of home studios and the ease with which people can set one up now. I sent you a link to our 3rd episode, which focuses on starting in voice acting, specifically in video game voice acting. So if you ever get any of your fans at the podcast, or even yourselves, if you have any interest, that episode covers a lot of ground.
Oh, for sure. We'll put it in the show notes for sure, when the podcast uploads.
Awesome.
But Greg, was there anything else you wanted to say as far as like where they can find you, or were you done?
I stepped right in the middle of your plugs. I'm sorry, Greg.
It's one of those things, Adam, where people go, would this guy just shut the fuck up, because I want to just hear Adam talk. Anyway. No, that was about it. I'm gonna have a new article up on Monday, which is 14 homemade Etsy items you can buy for your significant other.
Nice.
Valentine's Day.
Oh, yes, right.
Oh, wow. Actually, I may need to look into that. In fact, I was going to ask you guys, maybe Anthony, if you could send me an email after all this, because I'd love links to your work and everybody's Twitter and everything.
Oh, yeah, for sure. No problem.
Awesome.
Kristen, where can they find you on the internet?
You guys can find me on facebook.com/findarabbit, and that's pretty much it so far.
Cool. And you can follow me on Twitter at Naruto. You can follow the work that me, Greg, Kristen, and everybody else on the Mission Start podcast team have on the site at missionstartpodcast.com. Please go check it out. We have tons of reviews, previews. This podcast will be up as well. I might actually move this to Monday just because of the exclusivity of Adam here, along with other stuff that he has told us. But yes, do check out Greg's article when it's up next week. Yeah, so that's about it. Again, thank you, Adam, for joining us for this podcast.
My pleasure, guys.
Thank you, Kristen and Greg, for joining tonight for this special occasion.
No, don't thank me. I was just being mean to you the whole podcast.
I don't know about
Thank you for letting me on the podcast for the first time.
Oh, yes.
Anthony, you know that I love you and your pretty face.
Yeah.
You guys want to get the room?
Yeah.
No, we'll just, if you don't mind, Adam, we'll just do it right in front of you. It's not a...
Whoa.
I like to make things really awkward at the end of these podcasts. That's kind of my thing.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah. And with that, we will see y'all next time. God damn it, Greg.